Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Onos and today's video is in answer to a question I've been asked quite a few times already. Which game is better, Hellpoint or Mortal Shell? They are both set at the same price point, or they're close enough in price so that the difference isn't really worth worrying about. But in terms of which game is actually better, if you need to make the choice, I'm going to break it down. We'll talk about the story and lore, the graphics and audio, the gameplay, difficulty and replayability. Hellpoint is set on a space station orbiting a black hole, whereas Mortal Shell has a more medieval vibe to it. The story of Hellpoint is based on the mysterious event that happened aboard a space station which causes your creation. In Mortal Shell, again, your character's creation and origins are mysterious. Despite the obvious differences in the setting of each game, there are a great deal of similarities. Neither game tells you much about the story or lore at the beginning. Both games encourage investigation to uncover snippets of the backstory so that you can figure out what's actually going on. Both have a dark and foreboding feeling to them, and both are capable of making you jump out of your skin on occasion. Both games are Souls-like, of course, too, and have the same gameplay loop on a basic level. You have to grind out your progress against the odds. If you die, then you lose the materials you've collected and have the opportunity to get them back if you can get back to where you died. From here on though, the games begin to go in their own separate ways. Let's talk about the pros and cons of each. From a graphical perspective, Mortal Shell has to be the winner for me. Graphically, Mortal Shell looks much more polished. It launched very recently and did come with the occasional bug here and there, but it was pretty polished and very good looking from a graphics point of view. If you find the look of a game to be more important in terms of your enjoyment, then you should definitely bear this in mind. The graphics in Hellpoint look much more dated. I'm not saying the graphics are bad as such, but you can tell that Mortal Shell was designed with the Unreal Engine. Having said that, if you're watching this video, then chances are you are already aware of both games, and you're undecided, which means that graphics aren't a deal breaker. So in terms of the audio, very quickly, both games are great as far as I'm concerned. They both provide a great atmosphere and a setting for each game. From a gameplay point of view then, this is where things get a little tricky. The real thing Hellpoint has, which personally I would say is better than Mortal Shell, is their level design. I don't mean from a looks point of view. The look of the different areas in Mortal Shell is definitely better. Mortal Shell differentiates the areas of the game better so that they look more distinct from one another, which is something Hellpoint struggles with at times. However, what Hellpoint does better is the way they have designed the layout and intricacy of their levels. The secrets to be found in Hellpoint are much more difficult to uncover. The way that the levels interconnect and loop back on one another, the way that things connect back to the central hub, and the shortcuts you will discover from one area to another has clearly had a lot of attention to detail. Mortal Shell has no jumping or platforming to be done in the game. Your feet are on the ground at all times. Hellpoint, however, has a lot of platforming, jumping puzzles and hidden areas, which may be completely out of sight if you're not looking up above you. This gives Hellpoint a clear advantage in terms of the complexity of their level design. In terms of the combat, I would personally say that Mortal Shell has the edge. What begins as a fairly basic light and heavy attack system with the usual dodge and roll quickly becomes much more advanced with the addition of their hardening system, the ability to add a hard shell around your character at a moment's notice to allow you to tank damage and continue your attack. There is also a parry system which can be augmented with abilities which are unlocked as you go along. The combat feels heavy hitting but very responsive. In Hellpoint, the combat at face level is more simple. Again, you have a heavy and light attack with the dodge and roll, but this does become more complex as you find more advanced weapons along your journey which can be unlocked with use to perform special attacks or provide buffs. This allows you to change your playstyle depending on your preference. The combat in Hellpoint does offer more choice in terms of the weapons you can use and therefore more varied styles of gameplay. But the combat system itself feels simpler and more basic, not quite as sharp, despite the choices open to the player. However, in terms of player agency, that is, the player choice in terms of how you play the game and the character development, Hellpoint definitely takes the lead on this point. Despite the fact that you are unable to physically create your own character in either game, Hellpoint offers a great deal of possible customization along the journey as you progress. You are able to place stats as you level up, which gives you the choice of priority, for example more health, stamina, damage in a number of different forms, and also solid ranged combat options. You can collect a whole host of weapons and armors to give you different benefits and really customize your playstyle and make the character your own. Mortal Shell, on the other hand, has a choice of 4 different shells you can occupy, each with its own linear path of progression. They also have 4 weapons to choose from, again with their own linear upgrade system. This does offer some choice in terms of playstyle, but calling this system a character build, personally, I think is a bit of a stretch too far. It's not really a character build at all in my eyes. It allows for some player choice, but ultimately you're choosing from quite limited options, and you definitely don't have a huge amount of freedom to make the character feel like your own. In addition to this, Hellpoint has both co-op and PvP option you can play, along with a split screen couch co-op option if you would like to play with a friend. So in terms of difficulty, which one is harder, Mortal Shell or Hellpoint? I think this will come down to the player. For me, I found that Hellpoint was harder. With Mortal Shell, don't get me wrong, I spent at least the first hour or 2 of my time in game struggling with the most basic enemies, but that was more down to the rhythm of combat and the timing of the hardening ability. After I learned the timings I needed and the flow of combat, I found myself making solid progress. There were some room encounters I had some trouble with in Mortal Shell, but the bosses and mini-bosses really didn't challenge me as much as I would have liked. The bosses themselves usually killed me once or at most twice before I managed to learn the mechanics and beat them. Some of the mini-bosses I managed to kill first time. I don't think this makes me anything special, by the way. I suspect a lot of people, especially with any amount of time spent in other Souls games, will experience the same thing. Hellpoint, on the other hand, was more challenging, to me at least. Some of the basic enemies really caused me some grief for a time, and a couple of the bosses killed me multiple times before I managed to overcome them. From a replayability and time in game perspective, you are more likely to get more time out of Hellpoint, I feel. There are secrets in Mortal Shell, which of course I won't spoil for you, and this may give the game some replayability if you want to find all of those, but the game does feel very short and seems to come to an end quite abruptly from my experience, without ever needing to max out all of the shells or even find all of the weapons. Hellpoint has so many secrets littered around each of the levels. Combine that with the number of potential character builds you can make, and I really wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't get double the amount of time in game from Hellpoint versus Mortal Shell. So which one is better? I won't answer that for you, it comes down to a choice. Both games are solid in their own way, and both games are very enjoyable. Honestly, I would recommend you try out both if you're able. If you have to make the choice, then that would be down to what your priority is. If combat style, polish and graphical superiority is your thing, then Mortal Shell should be your go-to without a doubt. If you like character builds, player choice, weapon variation and level design, or the ability to co-op and PvP, then you should give Hellpoint a go for sure. I know I haven't given you a straight answer, but I hope you found this helpful. Leave me a like and comment if you don't mind, sub if you're new, and I'll wrap it up here. Thank you for watching, take care, stay safe, bye bye now.